right back to the track, Jack. Well, you reach your destination, but alas and alack, you need some compensation to get back in the black. You take the morning paper from the top of the stack and you read the situation from the front to the back. But the only job that's open needs a man with a knack, so put it right back in the track, Jack. Choo-choo, choo-choo, cha-boogie, woo-woo, woo-woo, cha-boogie, choo-choo, choo-choo, cha-boogie. Take me right back to the track, Jack. Gonna settle down by the railroad track and live the life of Riley in a beaten down shack. So when I hear the whistle I can peek through the crack and watch a train rolling when they ball on the jack. So I just love the rhythm of the clickety clack. So take me right back to the track, Jack. Choo-choo, choo-choo, cha-boogie, woo-woo, woo-woo, cha-boogie, choo-choo, choo-choo, cha-boogie. Take me right back to the track, Jack.
Several times a day, airplanes descend over Rock Island, riding the wind down toward the airport, 100 or 200 passengers at a time, returning home from the world, from Bangkok and Buenos Aires, Fiji, and Frankfurt. Some of us haven't quite accepted the big birds in our hearts. We still hear lonesome train whistles late at night, or remember going down to the tracks each evening to watch the Burlington Zephyr snake along the Mississippi River toward Minneapolis. We kids put pennies on the train tracks, not out of disrespect, but to be awed by the power of the great engines as they flattened our coins into thin footballs. From the time we could first sing, we sang songs about trains. Name an airplane that has a single such song. We sang about working on the railroad all the livelong day. We sang an antiphonal response about Bill Grogan's goat tied to the tracks for eating shirts. And we knew every verse of the Wabash Cannonball, its rumble and its roar. Here truly was a little engine that could. We never tired of Casey Jones, who died a hero's death. In the beginning, airplanes had this same mystique and their own heroes, Amelia Earhart, Howard Hughes, Wiley Post, Jimmy Doolittle. But the airlines have gone antiseptic on us. What romance is there in a flight named 5168 compared to train runs, each on the Rock Island Line's Gee Whiz to Kansas City, the city of New Orleans, or the Illinois Central's bright yellow land of corn? What cold maze of modern airline terminals can replace the rural depot and its pot-bellied stove, or the high-arched beehive temple that was Grand Central Station? All this reverie because the other night a railroad song came back to me that was obligatory at every Boy Scout campfire I ever sat around. You may remember it. The tune was humoresque. If I could sing, I would sing it. But here are the lines. Passengers will please refrain from flushing toilets while the train is standing in the station. I love you. We encourage constipation while the train is in the station. The porters have to wait, so why can't you? I bet some of the rest of you know a few other crude verses of that song.
From a rocky-bound Atlantic to a mild Pacific shore, from a fair in the sunny South End to an icebound Labrador, there's a name of magic import, 'tis known the world throughout. 'Tis a mighty corporation called the Great Rock Island Route. Now listen to the jingle and the rumble and the roar as she dashes through the woodland and beats along the shore. See the mighty rushing engine, hear her mighty bell ring out as they speed along in safety on the Great Rock Island Route. All great cities of importance are all found along the way. There's Chicago and Peoria and Rock Island, so they say. With Davenport and westward still is Council Bluffs far out as a western termination of the Great Rock Island Route. So listen to the jingle and the rumble and the roar Now the yards are still and empty, and the steam has gone to rust. No conductor till call the neighbor towns, no timetables to trust. She's reached her destination like all works of man, no doubt. When she dashes through our memories, the great Rock Island route. So listen to the jingle and the rumble and the roar as she dashes through the woodland and speeds along the shore. See her mighty rushing engine, hear her mighty bell ring out as she speeds along in safety on the great Rock Island route.
You may have suspected Chris of stealing that tune from the Wabash Cannonball, but it turns out to be just the opposite. This song was written as Chris sang it, except for the last verse, in 1879 for the Rock Island Lines, and in 1915 someone swiped it and renamed it the Wabash Cannonball, and that's the one that's become famous, but it's fake.
That was the hobos that did that.
Was it?
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I heard.
How could you and I let America's railroads die? We Rock Islanders have more reason to ask that than most. The Rock Island Road was not only a mighty fine road, it was named after us. We owed it all those things godparents owe. The Chicago and Rock Island Railroad became the first train to reach the Mississippi River in 1854. 2 years later, it crossed the Mississippi and headed westward as the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad, and later as the Rock Island Lines. By the 1920s, some 74 trains a day were arriving and departing from stations within sight of Rock Island, moving out along the river, climbing through valleys between the bluffs, an octopus, the writer Frank Norris called it, deciding which towns flourished and which died. That's why none of us could believe the news in 1975 when the Rock Island Lines declared bankruptcy. What measly matter of a few dollars could take down these mighty machines on their iron rails? The Rock had just traded its old red engines for a modern logo and a new blue, white, and black color scheme. We knew, of course, that the Rock Island Lines had only one passenger train left, a slower and slower round trip from Rock Island to Chicago as the rail bed gave way, but that trip was still a popular stress reliever. Breakfast on the train at 6:40, shopping or theater in Chicago, and dinner on the return train that evening at 5:30. Civilization even students could afford. In 1979, the trips to Chicago stopped. Storms that year killed harvests and dried up shipping revenues. We still did not believe. This was our rock. Then, early in 1980, a federal judge ordered the line liquidated, the first liquidation of a Class I railroad in United States history. 7,000 workers were out of jobs, and the great Silva shops, once the largest and most modern railroad repair works in the country, lay silent. I'm reminded of that famous tombstone epitaph. I told you I was sick.
This song I wrote to support the return of the Amtrak train to the Quad Cities. Get on board. Get on board. Join the campaign to bring the passenger train back. Get on board. Get on board. Bring the Quad Cities back to Amtrak. Can you see what I mean? The solution is green. Get on board. Get on board. You have too many cars. Don't let your bike get dusty. The carbon count is too darn high. Don't let that track stay rusty. Get on board. Get on board. I see a future with an Amtrak train. Do you see what I mean? Sometimes you have to spend a little green. Get on board. Get on board. Well, it will be so easy when you have to go. Get down to the station, take the train to Chicago. Get on board, get on board. Let's bring Amtrak to the Quad Cities down. Do you see what I mean? The solution is green. Get on board, get on board, get on board.
Had the good citizens of Iowa City been thinking as clearly back in 1855 as they do today, now that the university is there, they might have saved themselves $50,000. That July, the Mississippi and Missouri Railroad had begun building tracks west from Davenport, where the first railroad bridge on the Mississippi had already begun to cross the channel. The citizens of Iowa City, concerned that the tracks might bypass their community, offered railroad officials a bonus of $50,000 not to bypass them. In order to make the offer seem more like a bonus than a bribe, Iowa Cityans stipulated that the tracks must reach Iowa City by December 31st, 1855. The railroad confidently built a station in Iowa City. The distance to Iowa City was only 55 miles, but by Christmas Day the tracks were still 10 miles away from Iowa City, and bad weather was closing in and prospects seemed dim. By the time the construction crew arrived for work on the morning of December 31st, prospects were even dimmer. The temperature was 30 degrees below zero. By 9 o'clock that night, the tracks were still 1,000 feet from the station. Then, a strange thing happened. The very citizens who had offered the bonus got so excited by the race that they pitched in. Some picked up tools and took their place alongside the railroad crews. Others built bonfires all along the right-of-way to keep men warm and to light the construction. 11 o'clock, the tracks had been laid to within 200 feet of the station. And then, disaster. The engine, named the Iowa City, froze up. There was no time to thought. While the chief engineer helped his men lay the remaining rails across the ties up ahead, the citizens of Iowa City inched the engine forward with crowbars. Church bells had just begun to ring in the new year when the engine reached the station platform. There was a brief ceremony presenting the bonus to railroad officials. The citizens of Iowa City must have awakened on New Year's Day with a new kind of hangover when they realized that joining the railroad party the previous evening had cost them $50,000. And I expect a few Iowa Cityans made a resolution never, ever to get that excited again.
This is a song about a different kind of race.